I'll call the meeting to order. All right. Before we get started, let's introduce everyone on this meeting. Sandra Brock. When I call your name, please confirm you are present. Skip, okay. Patrick.
Present.
John.
Present.
And we have staff on board. Leah.
Present.
And Samantha.
Present.
Okay. And our anticipated speakers on the agenda. And I will apologize up front if I mispronounce your name. So John Grenier.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. Peter Engle. Doesn't look like he's on yet. Let's see him. Okay. Bill Maher of Niche Engineering. And obviously I'll recuse myself when that comes up. Zac Couture.
Present.
Thank you. Norm Hill. He's on a little bit later. Okay. Amanda Cavalier. All right. And Scott Goddard. I saw him on earlier. Thank you. Okay, so those are the folks that are here right now. We'll see if more join. Okay, this is the open meeting of the Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely consistent with the Governor's Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020 due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the Governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in the publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted on the town's website at grafton-ma.gov, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Conservation Commission is convening by telephone and video conference via Zoom, as posted on the town's website identifying how the public can join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. All supporting materials that have been provided to the commissions are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along with the posted agenda. Before we get started, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, the chair, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I, the chair, will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. After the members have spoken, I will afford the public comment as follows. I will first read the public comments, questions received in advance of the meeting, followed by real-time board and or applicant responses. I will read the real-time comments, questions typed by computer participants in the chat feature, followed by real-time board applicant responses. Please note, anyone wishing to contribute comments or questions via the chat feature, they will need to be addressed to everyone and not any sole individual. Finally, each vote in this meeting will be conducted by roll call. All right, so that is the announcement. And so getting into the meeting, Leah, up front, anything to take care as far as business?
It would be easiest if you did all the continuances now.
Oh, okay, great. I saw there was a bunch. Okay, so let me start at the top. Skip to 17, 7:30, 7:45 meeting. Okay. So pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon an application for Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw permit for the construction of duplex at 80 Snow Road, Lot 2, Grafton. The applicant has requested a continuance to the August 18th meeting. Do I hear a motion? Just unmute before you make the motion.
I'll motion to continue.
Okay, and that was Patrick. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor of the continuance, say aye. Wait, excuse me, I have to do roll call, sorry. Patrick, how do you vote?
Yes.
And John, how do you vote?
Yes.
I also vote yes, that's unanimous. Okay. So I'm just marking which ones I've done here. Okay. Next one. 80 Snow Road, Lot 3. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection and Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice, to act upon an application for Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw permit for the construction of a duplex at 80 Snow Road, Lot 3. Do I have a motion for the continuance?
Make a motion to continue.
And I'll second.
Okay, and that continuance is to August 18th. So Patrick, are you in favor?
Yes.
And John, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay. All right, next one. 23 Prentice Street. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent for construction of 3 residential buildings at 23 Prentice Street. The applicant has requested a continuance to August 18th. Do I hear a motion?
I'll motion to continue to August 18th.
That was Patrick. Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Patrick, how do you vote?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
I'm also a yes, that's unanimous. Okay, keep on going. This one's for 88 Adams Road. The applicant has requested a continuance to August 18th. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, Grafton Conservation Commission will reopen a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw and application for Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw permit for the construction of a 39 lot subdivision at 88 Adams Road called the Ridings. The applicant has requested a continuance. Do I have a motion?
This is Patrick. I'll motion to continue to August 18th.
Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second.
I keep wanting to say all those in favor. Sorry. Patrick, how do you vote?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. Okay, next continuance would be for 21 Meadowbrook. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw permit for the construction of a single-family house at 21 Meadowbrook Road. The applicant has requested the continuance to August 18th. Do I hear a motion?
This is Patrick. I'll motion to continue to August 18th.
Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Patrick, how do you vote?
Yes.
John, how do you vote?
Yes.
I also in affirmative, and that passes unanimously. Okay. All right. Leah, did I miss any of them?
Nope.
Very good. Okay. So other things that we can take care of in 5 minutes.
The action items?
Yes. So action items. June 16th, 2020 meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review? And do anyone have any comments, questions, or corrections? Hearing none. Do I have a motion?
I will motion to accept the June 16th meeting minutes.
Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second.
So Patrick, your vote.
Yes.
John?
Yes.
I'm also affirmative. It carries unanimously. Request for certificate of compliance. I don't have your report open, Leah. What are you looking at for that?
So it's for 31 George Hill Road, and it's an old filing that the work never started under, and they're gonna be doing a new filing shortly.
Okay, so they're just cleaning up the old order.
Correct.
All right, do I have a motion to issue the order of conditions? And do we say anything special because the work has never been done?
You can include that in the vote, but just note that you said order of conditions instead of certificate of compliance.
Okay, I am sorry that we, do I have a motion to, for the certificate of compliance for 31 George Hill Road, which the work was never performed? Do I have a motion?
I'll motion to issue the certificate of compliance for 31 George Hill Road, noting that the work was never confirmed.
And do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second that motion.
And Patrick, how do you vote?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'm also affirmative, so that is issued. Nothing else?
I have a discussion item I could fit in probably
Okay.
now.
Yep.
We had an inquiry from a resident about the commission's interest in banning coal tar-based driveway sealants. And so Samantha's been doing some research on what other towns have done in order to do that. And a couple of towns have added a section to their stormwater bylaw about prohibited materials, I think they called it. So we have a couple samples from a couple of towns. If that was something you guys were interested in pursuing, we're also going to need to be making revisions to the stormwater bylaw this year for our MS4 permit requirements, so we could do it all in one batch. We don't have anything formal put together right now, just wanted a rough poll as to whether that was something you guys wanted to dig into, or whether or not you felt like that was the commission's charge.
So I don't know enough about, the material to know that if it's something that gets into runoff, when it rains, I don't know if it's the application. I don't really know enough about that particular material to really have an opinion, to be quite honest. So I would just want to know more. Does anyone else, Patrick or John, do you have any kind of comments on that?
I mean, I was just Googling furiously, but the only question I have at this point is kind of, do we have an idea of how often it's used in town?
So I don't have a concrete answer to that question, but the DPW director has been starting to dig into it as well. And he's been polling some local places that he knows seals driveways to see what they use. It was an inquiry from a resident that came to our department as well as a few others. And so there's been questions among staff as to what department might take ownership of that and keep running with it if they so chose. So I just wanted rough thoughts now.
Yeah.
We can certainly dig deeper into it as we go.
Yeah, I'd want to have a direct relationship between stormwater and runoff and contamination.
Okay.
We've all smelled what they put on driveways. It's a little pungent, but I don't know what that means. I mean, it's the question is, are you getting certain contaminants in runoff when you do that? I don't know enough about it to answer that question.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, as long as it's, I think we should consider it and get more information if there is a direct line. So.
Okay.
Would that only be in our jurisdiction if it's next to a wetland, or just related to stormwater?
Well, stormwater is, that's a good question, because stormwater is we are the authority for the stormwater bylaw in Grafton. So that kind of picks up things outside of the wetlands jurisdiction.
Sure.
And that has more to do with the MS4. And so as part of that bylaw, there is a water quality component to that. So we can have these type of, regulations to control that. But from my perspective, it's pretty narrow. We want to make sure it applies, and that we're just not randomly saying something because, I don't know the actual impact. So I don't want to go too far down that road until I know more.
So
I'm sorry, I'm assuming
sorry.
that most people that would seal coat their driveways don't need to get a permit for that, correct? They don't need to go in front of Conscom or a permit.
That is correct.
Right.
Right. So how would we prevent that from happening if that was the case, or control the material used?
So there, that's, in reality is you're going to be able to control the companies that work in town, because they're the ones that we would be notified. They'd be aware of those regulations. If a homeowner wants to do it on the weekend and buy it at Home Depot or another, home improvement store, I don't see how we can do it. The only thing is if someone did something and then there was, some sort of issue with pollution into the wetlands, there was some sort of damage, then you have a clear path to that person. To be quite honest, it's not something that we would go out and police.
Right.
So I have an additional question, which is if it was something that we stuck in the stormwater bylaw because of its potential impact on runoff, if there's a definite link to that, people only file for a stormwater permit if it's disturbance over an acre.
Right.
So that's two very specific thresholds people would have to meet, either being near a wetland and then harming the wetland, but we weren't necessarily looking at putting it in the wetlands bylaw, or a site disturbing over an acre.
Right.
And has a permit.
Right. Yeah. So, and looking across, like just having it under the town bylaws as like, again, it's like when you issue a regulation to control phosphorus in different fertilizers. It's really hard to police that. I think sometimes the reason you do it is that your your companies and vendors that go out and do it will pay attention to the regulations. You'll reduce the amount of phosphorus getting put out there, but you're not going to eliminate it all. So those are all really good questions. I just want to start at the very beginning. Is this an issue, and what is the issue? And if it's, if DEP hasn't, issued any regulations around it, is it a controlled substance? I don't know enough about it. And then we can ask the questions about if we did do some sort of, if we prohibited some sort of material, how would we even enforce it? And those are all really good questions because I don't know the answer, but I don't even know if there's an issue here or not, to be quite honest. So that'd be the first thing. If, you and Samantha can take a little bit more look at it, and I would even reach out to DEP to see if they have any additional kind of information on this material, to see if they have any guidance on this or not.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, okay, now it's after 7:15. I need to switch and go to, go to here. All right, 7:15, starting our first public hearing. Okay, pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent application for Grafton Wetlands Bylaw permit and application for Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw permit for the construction of a gravel yard at 20 Milford Road in Grafton. Who is here to speak on that?
Thank you. This is John Grenier, JM Grenier Associates. I am the engineer who has done the work for Z&J Realty.
Sure. So have you had the joy of participating in a remote public hearing yet? And if you...
I've done several of them, although most all of them, the whoever was managing the meeting was putting the plans up. I did one actually last week in Northbridge where I had a drive, and it was interesting.
Yeah, so Leah can help you with that. Yeah,
okay.
So Leah can help you with the plans and so forth. So if you'd like to give her direction, she can present Leah, I'll let you take over that part of it.
Yep.
Sure. So if Leah, you could go on to, I think it's sheet 2, which is the existing condition plan to share. Right there. Perfect. Okay, so this is 20 Milford Road. It is on the south side of town. Milford Road is just off of 122. This is in an industrial district. 20 Milford Road is a 5-acre parcel located on the south side of Milford Road. There is a bordering vegetated wetland that is on the southerly, southeast side of the existing lot. I'd also point out that there is an existing Tennessee gas pipeline easement that runs through that wetland as well. Now, the existing site has a 15,760 square foot commercial building located on it. It has parking in the front towards Milford Road. There is a driveway that goes along the northerly side of the building. And then in the rear on the southeasterly side, there's an existing concrete pad and a gravel yard area. And if you go on the westerly side of the lot, there's another gravel parking area kind of on the front left of the building on that westerly side. So Z&J Realty, the business that's going to be working out of there is Leone Landscaping and Construction. And what they are looking to do, they have this lot under purchase and sale. So they're going to use the garage area to store some of their vehicles and some of their tools and materials. And if you can go to the next sheet, what they're looking to do for the purposes of the requirements of their business is to expand the gravel yard area to the southwesterly side of the building. As you can see, a portion of that would be within the 100-foot wetland buffer. They are staying outside of the 25-foot no alteration. So they're looking to expand that gravel yard area so that they can bring some of their materials in. They're looking to stockpile some gravel, some mulch, some stone for their own purposes that they need on job sites. And if you can go to the next sheet is the grading sheet. And this new yard area is about 25 to 30,000 square feet expanded yard area. It's about 150 feet off of the building deep. And then in the mid portion, it's on average about 200 feet wide. So in order to meet all of our stormwater requirements in terms of reducing the amount of runoff in the post-development condition, also to treat any runoff, we're capturing that runoff. There is a swale on the low side of the gravel yard that would discharge water into a forebay, and then that would overtop and into an infiltration basin. So we have stormwater calculations that we've prepared that show that with the infiltration basin, it does drain in less than 72 hours. It has the volume to recharge adequate amount of water for the amount of impervious area. And also we're meeting our 80% requirement for TSS removal with the combination of the swale, the forebay, and the infiltration basin. We have been before the planning board. We have presented this plan to them about a week ago, and they have Graves Engineering reviewing this plan for them. I do a lot of work with Graves Engineering in multiple towns, and we're kind of on the same page, so to speak. I know what Jeff Walsh likes to see. I know how he likes to review plans. So I feel confident that we've addressed most all of his items that he could potentially have, because Again, we do a lot of work with them, and this is a pretty straightforward project. Again, we're staying out of that 25-foot no alteration zone, and it's really just grading and work within the 100-foot buffer zone. I would also contend that this is an improvement to the property because right now runoff from the existing gravel yard area behind the building, all of that just runs right off-site without any treatment whatsoever. So with this project, we would be capturing the existing runoff from the existing gravel areas, as well as the newly proposed areas, and would be treating that and bringing the site into compliance in terms of stormwater management, DEP stormwater management guidelines. With that, oh, in this area too, it's, I don't think that this area is really virgin woods. When we were down there looking at the site and doing work on the site, it looks like whether it was from this building or other commercial buildings in the area, there's large boulders scattered everywhere. It looks like it was like a boulder dump area historically. So it's not virgin woods by any stretch. With that, I think it's pretty straightforward. I'd put it to the chair with any questions or comments.
Sure. I have Leah, you can leave up the plan.
Oh,
I have
sorry.
I have just a couple of simple questions. Understand this is going to be, a landscape company and so forth, and they're going to have a series of bins in the back. What's going in the bins as far as what's the materials going to be in the bins?
Primarily different bins for mulch, for stone, sand, materials that they would need on some of their sites.
So yeah, and my question is if there's anything that's that potentially could have, could leach out something. I mean, if it's crushed stone, if it's topsoil, if it's that type of stuff, that's all, I don't think there's any issues. I just want to make sure that, because we'll just probably put some sort of condition that, all kind of, naturally occurring and, typical landscape materials are all approved, you know what I mean? And not just so they don't stop putting waste or something there, or stop putting, clippings or something, or doing, or, not that they couldn't do some sort of composting, but you'd want a little bit more going on because of the nutrients, but most everything they would have there, I can't see a problem with.
Right. And we purposefully made sure that those, not that it wouldn't be just inert materials, but we made sure that we kept that on the other side of the yard area and furthest away from the resource areas.
And just, and again, as you mentioned that you've gone in front of the planning board and Graves is going to be doing a peer review on you, and we'll use that same peer review on the stormwater. We don't need to do anything different. So that's fine. Leah, if you go to the next sheet that shows the swale, you indicate a grass swale.
Yes.
So you got a grass swale, a forebay, and an infiltration system. What are the soils out there?
It's Charlton rock. It's ledgy.
Okay. And I'm just wondering if you need the 44% before you get to your infiltration, and if instead of just a grass swale, you did a water quality swale. I'm just looking.
We could do that as well. It's really not a big deal.
Yeah, and I'll let Jeff take a look at that, because he'll look at the calculations. And then, are you still waiting for your DEP number?
I didn't double check. I don't know if any staff had the number on that yet.
Okay. And I'll now go to the other commissioners. Patrick, do you have any other questions on this?
It's very dark over here.
No, I don't have anything else at this point.
And John, do you have any questions?
Oh, I don't have any questions.
So as far as this one here, we don't have a DEP number, and obviously we're still waiting for Graves. I will open it up to any attendees here. If the public has any comments, please go to the chat function. Please put in your name and address and then ask your question. I'm going to babble on for a little bit so that give you a little time to actually ask questions if you have anything. And again, it's fairly straightforward. Just go to the chat and address it to everyone if you have any questions. And as we kind of continue on, we'll take keep an eye out to see if anyone has any questions or comments. Other than that, I would go back to the applicant and just check if you would like to continue the hearing. And when would you like to continue it to?
We would like to request continuation and to the next regularly scheduled hearing date for the commission.
That's August 18th.
Okay, that would be great.
Okay. So seeing that, I haven't seen any comments come up from the public. Seeing none of that, do I have, well, let me just ask the applicant if you have any questions.
No, I'm
okay. All right.
pretty straightforward.
So do I have a motion to continue the hearing to August 18th?
I'll move to continue the hearing to August 18th.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
So we have a motion and second. Patrick, how do you vote?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'm also yes. So thank you very much, and we'll see you in August.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Yeah, you too.
You.
Okay, so now I need to go back. All right, so we are now at the 7:30 and we're at 7:33, so that works. Okay. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent and application for Grafton Wetlands Bylaw Protection Permit for the construction of additional parking spaces at 126 Worcester Street in Grafton. And who's here to discuss that?
This is Peter Engle with McClure Engineering.
Okay, all right, Peter, you have the floor. And again, just let Leah know what you want to actually present, and we can go through that.
Sure. If you'd like to pull up the existing conditions, that's probably the best place to start. Yeah, so currently there's a existing chiropractor office at 126 Worcester Street. It abuts the Quinsigamon River. There's, I believe, 5 exterior spaces and 2 parking spaces in an existing garage. Currently, it's very tight parking wise. The owner does Mass DOT drug testing there as well, so there's bigger vehicles that come in and oftentimes are parking in the grass, and it's a mess at points when there's a lot of traffic. So basically, if we can go to the next page, we're just proposing to add 5 additional exterior spaces as well as some additional pavement for maneuverability when those larger vehicles are on the site. If we can go to the next page, currently there's no stormwater management whatsoever. So basically what we are proposing is to do a infiltration trench around all of the new pavement, which will provide some water quality treatment as well as groundwater recharge. And then we are proposing to send all the existing roof runoff to new underground recharge chambers, which are located in existing lawn areas, and one would be under the new pavement. All this work would be within existing lawn or existing pavement. There's no proposed tree clearing of any kind. We have some proposed erosion control barriers located at the tree line and at the exterior of the property lines. I think it's pretty straightforward, similar to the last project. Graves is reviewing this. We've yet to get comments from Jeff, and I believe we are still waiting on a DEP file number.
Got it. Yeah, I don't really have. What are you doing for water quality treatment?
So the infiltration trench around the parking area. So
Okay.
all the new parking area would sheet flow into basically a gravel-filled diaphragm or trench, and that trench would only overflow during larger storm events. So all that storm water should be caught by that infiltration trench.
All right. And again, as you said, we're waiting for the comments from Graves on the calculations. I don't have any other comments. Patrick, do you have any questions?
No, nothing at this time.
John, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I'm unsure. I know I'm on Hingham Road. I don't know if that's close enough to be not in a butter, but I know we get abutment or a butter notices for 122. So I just wanted to make sure I didn't need to recuse myself. I think it's far enough away, but I don't know who makes that call.
So it's one, you're disclosing it, which is important. Two, it's by the state is 100 feet. And Leah, what's our local bylaw distance?
300.
300 feet. If you
About
did not.
a couple thousand feet, yeah.
Oh yeah. So again, I think it's always a good idea if you're in the neighborhood to mention that you're near it.
Sure.
But you're not in a butter, so you don't need to unless the applicant has any issue with someone being close to the project, but not within kind of the notification of the area. So okay, and I'll direct that to the applicant if he has any issues with the proximity of one of our members to this location.
I do not see that being an issue.
Yep, it's from a legal standpoint, I don't see anything at all, just disclosing it. Okay.
No other comments.
Okay, and then I will now put it out to the public. If anyone, again, has any comments or questions, feel free to put your name and address in the chat box and ask that question. We'll keep an eye on those questions, and we will talk about a continuance. So based on no DEP number and the fact that we're still waiting for Graves, would you like to continue the hearing, and would you like to continue it to August 18th?
Yes, please.
Okay. Having
If I
said
can,
that, sure,
can I
go ahead.
pause you before
Yes.
you continue?
Yep.
So previously, a number of months ago, the owner had filed very preliminarily for this as an RDA, and he didn't quite know the scope at that time. So now that he figured out the scope and knew that it needed an NOI, he sent in a letter to just withdraw the RDA.
Okay.
So make a motion to acknowledge that withdrawal.
Certainly. Do I have a motion to withdraw the previously submitted RDA for this address?
A motion to withdraw the previously submitted RDA.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll vote on it. Patrick, how do you vote?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. So voted to withdraw without prejudice the previous RDA filing. So having that, anything else, Leah?
Nope.
Okay. And then based on that, the applicant has requested a continuance to August 18th. Do I hear a motion?
I will motion to continue this to August 18th.
Do I have a second?
I second.
We'll vote. Patrick?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. It's continued. Okay.
Alrighty. Thank you. Have a good
You're
night.
welcome. Yep. See you in August. Okay, let's go back. All right, so 7:15, 7:30. We have 4 minutes. We all
Okay.
sit here and stare at each other. And I also, so this next one is, this is the one, Leah, that Niche Engineering is doing.
Yes.
Okay, so just for full disclosure, I not only work at Niche, I am a partial owner of Niche. So obviously I have a conflict. I am going to have to, turn it over. So Patrick, if you want to run this one, one of the questions I would have is with only 2 voting members, if we can continue.
Yeah, I believe because a recusal counts as a vote, right?
Okay. All right.
I think.
Yes. So
Or
I
is
actually,
it an abstention that counts as a vote? Are they
yeah, I
different?
think my understanding is that just because someone recuses themselves, because you may have a case where a few people have to recuse themselves based on where they live or what activities, and you can still go ahead with the meeting. So I don't see an issue with that. I just want to discuss that. And is the applicant here before we open or do anything?
I'm looking.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry, we've had so many of these lately. Samantha, can you remind me the name of who we're looking for this one?
Yeah, that's Bill Mayer.
Okay, then no, he doesn't
Okay.
look like he's on right now.
Okay. So so why don't we open and postpone it a little bit? And if he doesn't show up or no one else shows up, then we can later on continue it. But all that has to be done without me. So I will leave my office so that you can't see me and I'm recusing. And so, Patrick, I would just open the hearing and continue it to time uncertain later tonight, or
Okay.
Just don't forget to wait 2 minutes.
Right.
okay, right. So, all right, I will be back at like 7:50 or so. So, bye.
All right. Seeing that it's 7:45. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, July 21st, 2020 at 7:45 via Zoom to act upon the request for determination of applicability for the installation of a new sewer system at 42 Institute Road, Grafton, Mass. Not seeing that we don't have anyone here for that at this time. Do I have a motion to continue this to a time uncertain later tonight?
I motion to continue the hearing for 42 Institute Road to a time uncertain later tonight.
And I second that. Jonathan, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Motion passes. So we'll continue that to a time uncertain, TBD. And if they don't come tonight, Leah, we would have to just move to.
Continue to 8:18.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
There is a comment in the chat, but it's not related to this.
Has 10 High Point Drive been submitted as a potential discussion topic?
It has not. We were working on a COC request with, I forget now if it's the current owner or potential future owner, but that was just today, and we were trying to work out all the pieces with them and ran out of time. So I wouldn't have a recommendation to make you guys, so we didn't put it on for tonight.
Okay.
think Cindy vastly overestimated the time that would take.
We're very efficient tonight.
Let's hope so. Looks like there's plenty to cover.
All set to keep going?
Yep. Welcome back.
Great. Okay, so, all right, so we have a few continuances that we've already done. It's a continuance that's not asking for another continuance. So next one up, Leah, any particular order, or we'll just take it in order?
Yeah, you can just go in order. That's fine.
Okay, so the next one up is 28 Bernard Road. So pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent and application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw permit for the construction of a rebuilt home at 28 Bernard Road. So who is here to discuss that?
I'm actually here for Norman. He's at another Zoom meeting, and I can get him if required. But my understanding is that the reason why we had to continue this was because we didn't have a DEP file number, and I know we have one now. So I don't know if there were any other issues. If there are, I would need to go get Norman, which I can do.
Okay, so let's kind of go through. Leah, if you want to go through your recommendations.
Sure. So one of the pending items last time was an alternatives analysis. We have received that. So that part is complete now, and they did get their file number. There was a comment from DEP that the site plan notes that the client will remove all invasive species within the limit of work. And it was DEP's recommendation that the applicant provide the commission with the scope and methods of invasive removal for a full review of work proposed within the riverfront area.
Okay.
We can discuss that now. We can also make it a condition that it's submitted prior to commencement of work.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see an issue of having it as a condition. So I'll open it up to the other commissioners. Patrick, do you have any comments or questions about this particular notice?
I do not.
And John, do you have any comments or questions? Okay. I will open it up to the public. If anyone wishes to make any comments, please put your name and address in the chat box and ask the questions for the commission. And as I kind of babble on, we'll see if anyone has any questions or if anyone's typing, and seeing none. So let's talk about conditions. So other than typical standard conditions, our standard conditions, Leah, and then the special condition requiring an invasive plant removal plan to be submitted and reviewed prior to commencement of work. I would also recommend that review of that invasive plant removal plan be delegated to our agent. Is there anything else, Leah, that we should have that we had previously discussed?
Well, that's all I have on that one.
Okay, great. Does anyone else have any other conditions? Patrick?
No, I do not.
And John, do you have anything else? I'm sorry, I'm just kind of making sure no one in the public wants to say anything. Having seen all of that, does the applicant have anything else to add?
No.
Okay, and then so do I have a motion to issue the order of conditions with our standard conditions and the one special condition requiring an invasive plant removal plan?
We'll motion to issue the order conditions with our standard conditions and the special condition that they are to remove invasive species within the limit of work, and was it to delegate that follow-up to our conservation agent.
All right. Do I have a second?
Yes, I second that motion.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second, so we'll vote on it. Patrick,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and I am also an affirmative, so 3 yeses. Okay, so we're all set with 28 Bernard Road. Moving on to 18 Carroll Road. Okay, pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, July 21st, to act upon a notice of intent application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw permit, application for Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw permit for the construction of a 10-lot subdivision at 18 Carroll Road called Abbey Woods. Who's here to speak to this project?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Zac Couture with HS&T Group. I'm here tonight representing the proponent for the Abbey Wood subdivision at 18 Carroll Road. Just a preamble to this project. I'm not sure if some of the commissioners are familiar with this project. This has actually been in front of your board twice, I believe, in the early 2000s and the early 2010. Essentially what we're doing tonight is we're trying to renew the approval process so he can actually begin work. He fell in some hard times and now is in a position to get this project underway. So hopefully we can get your folks' approval and get him going. So with that being said, let me just break down the Abbey Woods subdivision for you guys. Abbey Woods is located off the easterly side of Carroll Road. The subdivision proposes 10 lots. Leah, if you could turn to page 4 of 15, the existing conditions, I think we could get on a better page. Currently on site, there's 3 existing structures, a single-family home, a barn, and a large shed. There's also a gravel drive that leads from Carroll Road to said structures. Under this proposal, those will all be removed. Also, the current site is a combination of some wild, unmaintained growth and a lot of wooded area. So what we are proposing on this site is a dead-end road to be named Abbey Road. Abbey Road contains 500 feet of roadway alignment. The road will provide a conventional cul-de-sac at the terminus. And in post-development, the proposed Abbey Wood subdivision would consist of 10 lots totaling 12.4 acres. There is to the rear of the subdivision, you can see on sheet 4 of 15 and as well as 5 of 15, there is delineated wetlands to the rear of the subdivision. And those have been recently flagged and renumbered. There's also an isolated wetland located just off of Carroll Road as well. So the major changes to this project since its previous approvals is mainly being the reflagging of the wetlands to make them up to date. And another is redoing the drainage calculations to make them up to your standards that what you folks now use compared to what was used back then. So other than that, the plan set is pretty much identical. And if anybody would like me to dive into more or have any questions and concerns, I'd be happy to answer anything. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. My only question is a DEP comment that indicated to meet standard 3 of the Mass Stormwater Standards, applicant should demonstrate that there is sufficient volume for groundwater recharge beyond the forebay within the proposed basin.
Yeah, so we did update our drainage calculations and hydrology report that was reviewed by Graves Engineering under the planning board. And they did, so we had our first round of comments, we responded, and then our second letter was giving us our blessing. So that has been reviewed and corrected.
Okay. And your basin is up at the, I don't see a north arrow on here, plan northeast.
Yeah, so if we flip to page 6 of 15, you can get a better view of where the basin is.
Okay. And what kind of soils are out there?
I have the report right here. Give me 1 second. I apologize. So the site there's sea soils. It's Paxton and Situate soils.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, I'm just, as long as it's gone through Graves and they've come back with a clean review, then I'm all set. I have no further questions. I don't think I was on this when this was up previously. I wasn't on the commission. Patrick, do you have any questions or comments?
No, no questions.
John?
No questions.
And just a quick one, everything is town sewer and town water.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. So, Leah, did I miss anything from your report?
I just wanted to note that we are waiting like an official sign off from the wetland peer reviewer. But I took a look through his comments and then their responses, and from my perspective, they've been addressed. So if you guys are going to close tonight, if you can just have a condition that we're still awaiting that final sign off letter from
right.
them.
So we want to make sure that information becomes part of the record of this public hearing. Gotcha.
Correct.
To the applicant, do you have any issues with us including a condition like that?
No, none whatsoever. The comments were very minor in nature. So, I mean, we don't have any issue with that at all.
Okay. So I will open it up to the public. And again, if you have any comments or questions on this particular project, please put your name and address in the chat box and then ask the question. We'll kind of watch out for any kind of typing or anything going on in the chat box to see if we have any questions on this. And not seeing any of them. So the next is to have a motion to close the hearing and issue the order of conditions. Do I have a motion? Is there anything in chat? I'm sorry, I just see 3 things.
It's about a different topic we started talking about while you were away. We do need to pick that back up to address their second question, but it's unrelated to this hearing.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry, do I have a motion?
Motion to close the hearing and issue order conditions with the standard conditions and pending sign off from the wetland peer reviewer. Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Yes, I second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second. Take a vote. Patrick?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
I am also affirmative, and that's 3-4. So it passes. Okay. So, all right. So what's left here? Okay.
So if you don't mind, if we just circle back to the chat for a second.
Sure.
So we have a couple questions about 10 High Point Drive. They started working with staff to get a COC request in. We were working to get all the pieces together with them through the afternoon and just ran out of time to get the package complete and for me to be able to review it and feel comfortable with you guys' recommendations. So it is not on the agenda tonight. I anticipate it being on for August. It's just, it was too last minute and I didn't have time to do the full review.
Okay.
So hopefully that addresses their question.
Okay, so I guess I would go back. Okay, so they're responding to yes, thank you. Okay. So that takes care of that. It's just going back to, am I missing anything? Did I miss something?
If you're on the agent report, page 1 is all set minus the continued to a time uncertain for tonight. So we're on page 2. We have 100 Westboro Road
Yep.
next.
Okay, and then we've got one more after that. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. So pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent, application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and application for Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw for the construction of a mixed-use development at 100 Westboro Road. Do we have the applicant here or their representative to discuss this?
Yes, both are signed on. Amanda Cavalieri with Grenier and Howland, and Dominic Alfonso with Alfonso Builders, or DNF Alfonso Builders is on with me as well. And there's also another sign on. You can see my name twice. I did forward the link to Dan Hazen out of our office as well, just in case you had any outstanding questions with stormwater.
Okay.
So
Sure.
as far as just an update, I believe we're pretty much at the finish line and looking for closing the project out hopefully tonight. The project has been reviewed in great detail by Graves Engineering and the peer reviewers, and believe we've addressed all of their comments as well as DEP and Ecotech to this time. And the last outstanding item was the master phasing plan.
Yep.
We wanted to go over, it's a little difficult to follow where there's a lot of back and forth between phase A or phase 1, and trying to look at the picture, big picture, and trying to determine the best way to approach the phasing between the two projects, the subdivision that was previously approved and then the Alfonso Village that's currently in front of you. Because of the projects are owned by both the same applicant, work on the subdivision side has a lot of material that we'd like to use for the Alfonso Village project. Aside from the phasing plan that was approved for the subdivision, which is on the lower left of the plan, that was previously approved. And then the phasing A through, I can't see what's up there. I think it's G. It bounces back and forth between the subdivision and the village. Ideally, what we would like to do is to even simplify it a little bit more because of the extensive requirements that were approved under the subdivision, and try to streamline it where we could approve some request some conditions from the Conservation Commission that would allow the developer to clear and grub Audrina and Brook through the cul-de-sac in the subdivision, which is the main line that needs to get constructed in order to be able to approach Institute Road, which is on the easterly side of the project. Institute Road can't be done until Audrina and Brook are done, because there needs to be a cut through and detour around that area when they lower the road. And also we would like to do some clearing and grubbing through onto Alfonso Village to the north of the subdivision to allow for construction of the detention basin, which is going to be the first thing that would be actually constructed. And the areas in the subdivision and the roadways would be stabilized before construction of the detention pond would be done. After that, they would like utilities for both the subdivision and village. Again, working together with both projects, it's more so for ease of construction and to minimize the amount of material that's hauled off site and being able to use them between the two sites where they're back to back. After the utilities would be done, we'd go to the paving for Audrina and Brook. And that would allow the cut through or the detour around Institute Road where the work is being done to lower that area. And once that work is done, that they would be doing the commercial and residential building up on Westboro Road. There's 2 in Alfonso Village. and then doing the house lots simultaneously within the subdivision. And wanted to see if we could work with the commission at the time of construction, have conditional approval, as opposed to having one section constructed, getting sign off, having the next section constructed, having sign off from a construction standpoint, and keeping things moving out there while trying to minimize disturbance. The stormwater, where the detention pond is being done first, as far as the construction after the areas are cleared, that there's a place for the stormwater to be managed and mitigated during construction of both projects.
So, so I understand your approach, that you have a lot of cut on the subdivision and you want to use that fill on the commercial site or the mixed use site. Is that kind of the general approach here?
Yes.
Okay. So what is, what is your anticipated number of acres being open at once?
So as far as the roads go, we'd really be looking at the roadways, which I believe, I don't have the areas. I know they'd be over, it would be over the 5 acres. As far as the open but stabilized, the roadways, let's see. Adrena. So I believe for Adrena and Brooke, with the roadways, and we'd have to adjust our numbers. But under what was approved under a subdivision phase was 6.3 acres.
Okay.
That was for Adrena and Brooke. And then for Alfonso Village, I guess the southern portion of Alfonso Village, where buildings 1, 2, and 3 are, that are all residential, is where we'd be looking to stockpile the material that's going to be used to work within the village. And that's about a 5 acre area up there. And then also going through towards Westboro Road, again, so we can get the utilities in for both village and the subdivision.
Okay. And I understand it's a kind of unique thing where you have 2 different projects and it's owned by the same, and they're all kind of dependent upon one another. And obviously, I think we had previously given you that the 5 acres is simply a guideline, because we have had some major issues in the town with erosion control and the lack of it when people aren't doing what they're supposed to do.
Mhm.
So I'm going to ask the other commissioners what their thought is. I understand the whole cut and fill aspect of this. And just to understand that if we allow you to go through that, I happen to live up the street about a half a mile from the site, so I get to go by it on a regular basis. So if you do have any issues with erosion control, we definitely will be contacting you. So I'll ask Patrick if he has any questions about the site. If you're talking, Patrick, you're on mute.
I wasn't talking yet, but I was on mute.
Okay.
No, I was still trying to think. I guess I don't have any specific questions. Other than wondering what kind of erosion controls will be in place while all of this acreage is open.
So there's been erosion control plans submitted. So I have a question for the applicant. Do you have 1 or 2 SWIPs?
That's a good question. The stormwater report was updated to include both projects, so it would most likely be under one SWIP.
And so you haven't submitted that yet, which is fine. That's
Correct.
okay. All right. And can you just kind of quickly go through what type of erosion control methods you're going to be using out there?
Sure. So as far as the erosion control goes, we have our standard, I think we had discussed it with you before. So we have silt sacks that'll be going into the catch basins. We also have a temporary liner that would be going in the detention pond as well, for any silts and materials that get in there that would be cleaned out at the end of, prior to putting that into full use. And we also have the mulch socks with the silt fence as well, and that'll be monitored. Our typical requirements that we work with the contractors on is that the contractor is supposed to be inspecting them on a weekly basis, making sure that they're fully established during and maintained during construction activities. And then, the engineer can go out and inspect maybe once a month to follow up and after heavy rains.
Okay. And then as far as one thing that we will do is condition that we get a copy of your SWIP. We're not going to review it. We just like to know what's in it because the SWIP is much more detailed, and that's what they should be. That's what the contractor should be maintaining. Also give them the heads up that don't be surprised if they get visits during construction to check on their SWIP plan that's active and that's on the site. I mean, this is just going to take a lot more oversight here because the risk goes up for every acre you have exposed. And obviously the end result, if people aren't doing what they're supposed to, can be very significant. So I would give a heads up that this will get watched a little bit more just because I happen to be working at home and not even a half a mile to the site. So
And I know, oops, go ahead.
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say that Dominic is on, the owner applicant is on also, so he's hearing everything that you're saying as well.
Okay. John, do you have anything additional to ask or to add?
Nope, I do not.
Okay. Leah, do you have anything else? I think you were pretty clear in your report. This is kind of the last thing.
Correct.
And the only reason I'm saying, I'm considering this is because you really have two projects that happen to be next to each other and they're independent. Excuse me, they're interdependent on the cuts and fills. That's really the only reason I would think that we would allow this. And again, just a heads up, and just also to Leah that, I am just down the road, so I will have the ability to go by here after every single time it rains. So to help you out on that. All right. Is there anything else other than that? The phasing plan, I believe, was the last thing because everything else has been taken care of.
I believe
So,
that's it.
okay. So based on that, do I hear a motion to approve the order of conditions with previously discussed, with our standard conditions and any other special conditions we previously discussed, and specifically the phasing plan is being incorporated into that order of conditions. So do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll motion to approve.
I'm sorry, Patrick. One quick thing is I should have opened this up to the public. So if anyone has any questions, please type in the chat box your name and address, and if you have any questions on this particular project. So I just want to make sure I check that box off before we close it. Not seeing anyone typing or jumping up and down or anything. So, so I'm sorry. Go ahead, Patrick.
I'll motion to approve the order conditions with the standard conditions and the previously mentioned special conditions, including incorporating the phasing plan.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Yes, I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. We'll take a vote on it. I'll give last opportunity to the applicant if you have anything else to say.
I think we're all set.
All right. So we'll vote. Patrick,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yep. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
So is there anything else as far as hearings other than the one that was postponed earlier?
124 rear North Street, the in red.
Oh, okay. I got it.
Right beneath the one we just did.
Okay. Yep. Here we go. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation and request for determination of applicability for the delineation of resource areas at 124 rear North Street and 73 rear Old Westboro Road in Grafton. And who is here to speak on that?
It's Scott Goddard's here. How you doing, Sandra?
Oh, good. What's up?
So this has been kind of dragging on a little bit. I think we've kind of come to the conclusion on it. So we started this kind of in the winter season, then we had the winter delays, and then we had the Corona delays. But Art and I have gone back and forth and made mutually agreeable modifications to the wetland line in the field, updated the site plan, and those have been submitted to your team. So I think you have those. Art did issue a letter a week or two ago stating that he was pretty much good with everything. So I think the final version of the plan as you have it now reflects all agreed changes on all resource areas on the site.
Okay, thank you. Leah, is anything, that's basically what your report says? Anything else we should know?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, so Patrick, do you have any other questions on this one?
I do not.
And John, do you have any questions?
Do not.
Okay, and then I will just ask if anyone in the public would like to have any questions or comments on this. And again, just use the chat box. Please put your name and address and let us know. And I keep talking about this just so that give you time if you happen to want to actually have a comment. Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to close the hearing and issue the ORAD?
A motion to close the hearing and issue the ORAD in agreement with delineation.
Okay. Do I have thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. We'll vote. Patrick?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'm also affirmative, so 3-4. So it passes. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, we already done that, so we're all set. So it's just the last thing is for me to leave the room again.
Actually, can you hold on?
Sure.
I have about three quick discussion items.
Certainly.
They're not on the agenda, just things that have come up that I needed to run by you guys.
Okay.
One is, do you guys have a preference on the number of presenter invitations we're sending out for these hearings? When the whole Zoom setup was discussed on a staff level, the consensus was to try to have one presenter, aka panelist, per hearing to keep it a little less cluttered and less background noise and things of that nature. But we've had numerous people where it's like their engineer is the panelist, but then the homeowner wants to be able to talk too. And I'm fine clicking allow to talk, but should we just change it and send more invitations? Do you guys have a preference?
I haven't seen any big issues, and I'm sure we we won't have an issue until we do, but I don't see an issue with it. I'd rather see more transparency and more involvement if people are looking for it. I don't know if Patrick and John have any other kind of comments on that.
I agree.
So the difference would be that people who are in the attendees list and can only type would be given panelist access. So we would have their video and audio if we were to
Right.
send to both engineers and owners / applicants rather than just their representative.
Right. And I don't have a problem in several towns. We've, for larger projects, we've had a team of 5 or 6 people being attendees because there's the owner's rep, there's the CM, there's the, architect, there's me, there's the landscape architect, there's a wetland scientist. So in a lot of other towns, they allow the team to present. So, and I haven't seen any major issues. Now, that doesn't mean they're not happening, but I haven't seen anything. Do you have kind of a take on that, Leah? Or
At this point, it seems like it might be easier to just invite all as panelists because it's one less thing for me to manage while sitting here.
okay, yeah, I don't have an issue, and I'm
Okay.
sure we're not even close to the number of panelists that we could have. So
Okay, that's fine. I'll change it to sending it to everybody on the application.
Leah, you can default it to mute them or something, or you can manually mute them if they're just carrying on or if there's background
Yeah,
noise.
I did that earlier tonight with somebody.
Okay. I just that on all the calls that I have, that's the one thing that if there's a lot more people, that's the one thing that clutters it. So
Mhm.
that's good.
All right, well, we can give it a try that way next week and we'll see how it goes and we can always reevaluate.
Sure, sounds good.
So another thing I had was we had a filing where their order expired in February. None of us caught that. And they came in April for a minor change. And we approved that minor change, but it was on an expired order of conditions.
okay,
So fast forward to now, they're applying for a building permit, and we now are starting to implement the electronic permitting software. So building is up and running on that program. So if they have someone applying for a building permit and then it's relevant to us, it kicks it over to me and I have to put in comments and approve or deny them continuing. And that today is when I caught that it had actually expired.
okay,
So where do we go from here on that one? I relayed that to the owner. They want to know what steps they need to take. Normally your order expires, you have to redo it. You redo a new NOI, but I didn't know
Right.
if us having acted on it in April changed it.
I don't know that and the whole COVID stuff throws it a weird, twist to it too. Although it expired prior to us all going remote and so forth. Good question. I mean, I think I'd hate for them to have to redo it since we perpetuated the fact that it was still open.
Right.
And I know you're usually pretty good about letting people know that stuff is expiring and that they should get an extension and stuff. God, I don't really know the answer.
Maybe that's a question for the MACC helpline.
You could definitely do that. You could also reach out to DEP. Yeah, I from a legal, from kind of like, yeah, we should probably go ahead and have them retroactively do an extension, but I don't know if you can do that. But we definitely were part of that process there. So I want to take that, be a little bit responsible for that.
Okay, so you're wondering if they can ask for an extension now, even though it's not
Correct.
technically. Okay, I will
Yeah.
ask DEP and MACC that question.
Right. Right. Just so that, yeah, it's, what is the project?
It's 29 George Hill Road. It's a single family house.
Okay. Yeah. It's just, let's see what we can do. everything has been so crazy this year that we all live in a different universe right now. So
Right.
let's see what we can do on that.
Okay. And the last one I had was another property has come up in discussions with staff, 20 Creeper Hill Road. I don't know if you guys ever are over that way. They've cleared a decent amount. I'll pull it up on GIS for you in a second. They cleared a decent amount in the front of the lot. It's a very large lot and it's mostly agriculturally used. But you didn't see much activity on it until very recently when they cleared a bunch right by the road so everyone can see it. And with the recent rains we've had, they got a lot of erosion issues. So the question was raised whose jurisdiction this fell under. There was a question of whether or not they would need a stormwater bylaw permit. Then we noticed that we have an exemption in the stormwater bylaw for agricultural use, but it's a very vague definition of such. So let me show you guys the property. In the meantime, staff has gone out and gotten them to implement temporary stabilization. They've put erosion control down. They're trying to seed the front area so that nothing else happens. But I didn't know if they need a stormwater permit from us or they do not because it's agricultural. The area they have cleared is right within this horseshoe driveway.
And what are they going to do with that? Are they going to convert it to agricultural land? Are they planting something?
That's what's being said at this time. The town planner knows the owner of this property from other towns. He has several properties where he grows crops that he brings to his farm stand in a different town and sells the produce from the different properties.
Yep.
So I think that they said he intended this front part to maybe be an orchard of some sorts. It sounds a little preliminary. We don't have concrete details, nor does any department have a plan on paper.
So yeah, and so the stormwater is alteration of 40,000 or an acre, whichever. It's not. Yeah, so that's and I'm guessing that area is greater than an acre.
It's very slightly over an acre from a rough measurement on GIS. He also plans to continue disturbance. I don't have concrete numbers as to what that means, but in conversations staff has had out there with him, that's not the full extent of what he intends to do.
Right. And if he's actively farming and is going to do agricultural, then he needs to follow those state requirements, and there is that exemption in our local bylaw. That's a tough one.
I just didn't know if there's any, like, how is it determined that it's agricultural use? Is there a certain status they hold, a certain permit they hold with a state agency? Is it a land use code?
So is this
that?
That's a great question. Is this Chapter 61 land?
I don't know. I can check on that.
Because that would be the first thing. Because that gives it standing, I believe.
Right.
If so, that would be one thing. And then, see, all the times I've been involved with projects, it's always been like taking stuff out of agriculture, and not, So I'm not very familiar with that, but I know both in the Wetlands Protection Act and regulations and our stuff, there's always exemptions for agriculture. There is the state agency that oversees all of that. I just don't know really what they do.
Okay, and just to add one more layer of complication, I guess historically this was an orchard, and then for a few years it was not active from what I've heard.
Yeah,
he's like restarting things. So I didn't know how all that played into the definition of agriculture.
Yeah. So typically there's a time period on that. It's like it's different for depending upon MIPA's, I think 5 years to, and so if you're talking about, a site that was agricultural, but it's been fallow for a couple of years or haven't been worked, that doesn't mean it's not agriculture anymore. There is a time period on that. To be quite honest, I would call the Department of Agriculture on the state level. The few times I've dealt with them, they're very helpful. I mean, they know their stuff. I know very little about farms and agricultural standings, but I would check Chapter 61 first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Does anyone else, Patrick or John, do you have any other information on agricultural lands? I'm pretty devoid of knowledge on that.
Am I?
Yeah, no.
Okay. Yeah, it's too bad because I think probably, don't know. Okay, so, all right. Anything else other than the last hearing that we gotta kind of go back to?
Just that one.
Okay, so I can't even really tell you what to do with that. So I will again leave my office and give you a few minutes to kind of open it up and do whatever you're going to do with that.
Don't be way too long. They were very quick last time.
Okay. All right. I will take a walk around my house and be right back. Okay. Thanks. Yep. Bye.
Okay, so go ahead, Leah.
I was just gonna offer my thoughts. If you want to read the legal ad again to open it back up from continuing earlier, I think the best idea, it's ultimately up to you guys, but I think the best idea would be having, since we have opened it tonight, to just continue to August. That keeps it going the way other hearings are going versus us having to re-advertise again, get them a new time slot, all that kind of stuff. I'm not quite sure why he wasn't here. We didn't hear anything from him that he had any difficulties, so we'll follow up with him in the meantime, but I think putting them on the August agenda is the best bet.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Maybe we can, like you said, follow up with him and find out and see where we're at in August.
Okay.
All right, so let me just find this one so I can read. So reopening this pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Act bylaw, Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, July 21st, 2020 at 7:45 p.m., which was continued to a time uncertain, which we're now reopening via Zoom to act upon a request for a determination of applicability for the installation of a new sewer system at 42 Institute Road, Grafton, Massachusetts. Seeing that we haven't heard from the representative, unless there's any other comments, do I have a motion to continue this to the August 18th meeting?
Yes, I motion to continue this hearing to the August 18th.
And I will second that. Jonathan, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Motion passes, so we'll continue to August 18th. And yeah, Leah, if you don't mind following up with them in the meantime, that would be.
Sure.
Hopefully Sandy's house isn't too big to walk. Oh, perfect timing.
Too long?
That was almost perfect timing.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so that's pretty much it then, right?
Yes.
That's it. That means, you know what that means? Do I have a motion?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. I'll skip the so Patrick.
Aye.
Yeah. There we go. There's only us left here anyway, so that's it. We're done.